Hello, everybody. This is Clint Locklear. I'm up the FTA, and I've got Zagger in what my wife calls the Chester Molester van. It's getting pretty warm in here, so I don't know if we'll get a full hour. But I had a couple of guys yesterday that asked me to do another interview with him, so I saw him, and I have a declaration to make because there was some confusion between me and Zagger. I want everybody to know that I love Zagger. I'm not in love with Zagger. Big difference. But you thought that I was just, you didn't realize that my eyes are the way they were, and you thought that maybe I was just ignoring you, and I didn't know it was you.
You guys can't see this, but he's holding my hand right now. Like the last 2 years that I walked by your booth and saw you, I'd say, "Hey man, what's up?" I tipped my hat to you, and you just looked at me and kind of grimaced like Johnny Thorpe used to do, man. I'm like, man, what's wrong? What'd I do to him? You know? And so I said something to Jeff Dunlap at the PTA. I said, "What's going on with Locklear, man? Is he mad at me?" He's like, "Man, I don't think so." And then Jeff said something to you, and you said, "No, man, there's nothing wrong." And here we are. So
because the other day I was like, "Is that Zagger?" I could see his shape. And with the sun coming through the back window, it looks like I'm looking through fog.
You thought it was Hugh Jackman?
And I saw you nod, so I nodded because it's the polite thing to do.
Yeah, it even happened. It happened here. You did the same thing. Dunlap already said to me that, "Nah, he's cool, man." Then I walked by and you did the same thing. I said. Then when you explained to me that you couldn't see, you didn't recognize me, I'm like, now I get it. So here we are.
Yeah.
Love Fest.
Okay, first question.
Yes, sir.
Explain why you don't want to have someone in Florida teach you to make an igloo.
Hey, I like that. That's a good lead-in. What he's getting at is I have a thing now, since the last time we talked, I started a little thing called Coyote U, and it's not at all original in that there's been a lot of schools for a long time. Heck, when I was, I got thinking about it, back in 1980, remember when Ray Milligan, Jeff Kuhn Richter, is that how you say his last name? And
to do the motel thing?
Yeah, and I went to that as a young kid, which, you know, I think that showed even at a young age that I was willing to pay for lessons and learn, you know, but this is not at all original. Mark June approached me a few years ago to help him out with his school, and it was great, and I was flattered to be involved, but I had already had Coyote U in the works, and so, you know, I guess what I got going for me, and going back to your original question, is I'm, as of right now, probably the only guy in the true Northeast or East that's doing this in snow and rain and mud, and there's a lot of trappers in Pennsylvania and New York and Ohio and Vermont and New Hampshire, as you know, and some of the other schools, and I tell guys all the time, just like you, man, you've went to other people for help, and I tell people, go to whoever, just take lessons from somebody and take it from multiple people. But I guess if you live in the East and trap in the East, then, you know, mine probably is a little more focused on that, and maybe makes a little more sense. It can be difficult, I think. When I was out with O'Gorman, man, we were on these stock dams and, you know, sagebrush flats and places that nothing like New York or Ohio or PA where I lived, and it takes a unique person that can really take that same thought process and put it into a hayfield in Michigan or New York or whatever, and we're supposed to, and we should, but I don't think everybody, especially a newer guy, can do that. So I think what I'm doing up there in New York plays into the hand a little better of a true northeastern trap. You know, east, where's that line start and stop, you know? But you know, we get 300 inches of snow where I live annually. That's a whole different program than Texas or Kansas or Tennessee or wherever. So I think, you know, the numbers I've done over the years in the Northeast and New York, and then, you know, being kind of in that geographical type oddity, I think it kind of gives a unique, perhaps, approach, and maybe applies to some people more than others. But again, I'll never discourage anybody from going anywhere. Take them from whomever.
Well, I'm glad. See, I didn't know that you were doing your own, and like if you can ask Jeff this. I stay out of everybody's business because every time I get, you know, into stuff, there's always drama. So I'm like a hermit.
Understood.
When it comes, so people would call and go, "You still doing the school?" And I'll go, "I think June and Zagger's doing something." I know June was. I think Zagger's doing something. I think it's in Texas. I'm not sure. And so now I know. So
yeah, and right, you know, I guess to his credit, he kind of, and your credit, I mean, you guys kind of dusted off that genre, for lack of a better word, but man, all of a sudden there's 5 or 6 or 7 of these, and you know better than anybody, man. Coyotes rule the world when people want to know about coyotes. Mm-hmm. My buddy Rusty Johnson, from the June school, they wanted him to do a beaver demo at one of these conventions. Like, man, no one's gonna come to a beaver demo. Mm-hmm. And I do coyotes, but every other demo was coyote, because mm-hmm. that's what, they're the big game animal that everybody's curious and struggling with all the time. So mine is purely focused on that. I mean, what I do at Coyote U, it could apply to fox or really anything. It's the type of thing that all about. It's all about the mindset and preparation and focus and determination and drive and all those things that we can't teach anybody, but mm-hmm. you can take that and apply it to anything. If
you put me out there, going in the right way.
That's right. Them. You put me out there with muskrats or coons or mink. I might not be the best now, but I'll figure something out. I'll get in there.
See, my school was more set up for cats and predator work.
Okay. Control work.
That's what it was about the ranches, and then there was about half the guys would come down just wanting to catch a Texas cat.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It's definitely way more work than people realize. Keeping up with other adults.
Understood, man. You're a babysitter for a weekend or longer. Mine's it's pretty short. It's 2.5 days. I do Saturdays, kind of a classroom deal where at our place, we got a pretty nice place in upstate New York, and the first day is kind of classroom, and I call it Coyotes A to Z, but everything that I talk about, I back it all up with photos or videos or both. I think I have 800 videos and photographs up on a big screen that everything I talk about of what I do, I show these guys that mm-hmm. it really does work. And spend a lot of time on location, guys. It's funny, I send out a questionnaire to everybody, and 99% of the guys that are coming, and again, a lot of them are newer guys, but 99% of them say location is one of the things they struggle with. So I spent a lot of time on that. And then the second day, we actually go out on my line, out to all my farms, which is a challenge, 3 trucks, 13 guys, but my farmers, I've been on these farms 30 years, so they know what I'm doing and why I'm out there. But I don't leave anything to risk. I like 3 days before I'm going out there, every class I said, don't forget, there's gonna be 3 trucks grabbed across your field on Sunday. But and then the last day is all fur shop stuff. And I think I'm a pretty good coyote trapper, but I know that I'm a really good, I put them up better than anybody. I hate to say it sounds corny, but you can eat off my coyotes when I'm done with them. And a lot of guys come and say, man, that just the fur handling piece alone was worth the price of admission. So I like that too. So if you're going to kill them, you might as well put them up right. That's the way I look at it.
So it's 2.5 days. That's what it is.
That's right.
And what time of year is it?
I do it in October and April. In upstate New York, April and October, I hate to say it, man, those are winter months. and I try to, because we're not trapping, man. I'm setting traps when I show these guys, but I got to snap them off because season's not in. So I'm trying to emulate or replicate actual trapping conditions. If you went out to my place now, it'd be just as hot as it is here today, 90 degrees, and corn would be knee high, and you wouldn't see anything. We'd all be in shorts. Because my wife's like, why don't you do this at a nice time of year? Because every time we do it, the weather's a challenge. But that plays right into my hand. The whole idea of trapping in the Northeast is the rain and the snow and all that type of thing. So I want to take guys out on my line and have the corn already gone. I want the last hay cutting done, and because in 2 weeks from there in October I'll be trapping, and then April is the same exact thing. In April in upstate New York, the snow just melted. They haven't started plowing yet, and it looks like November. It looks like trapping conditions in November. If you were to take a picture, it makes sense that way.
Well, the location thing, I can tell you, when I do YouTube videos, I can do the videos where I'm like a big 8 beating on my chest and on the ground and, have stuff dead laying everywhere. But the videos that always get the most comments and the most traffic are, let's look at this field and talk about how the coyotes are going to move through here, and this is what you need to think about. I'm just standing on my trap line with a cell phone. That's what, that's, apparently it's harder. And I guess because when you've been doing it long enough, you don't see why it's hard anymore.
Understood. And I think sometimes we take that stuff for granted. When I was out with Craig, that was a long time ago, but one of the things I'll never forget him saying, we were looking at all these locations. I'm like, man, how do you pick the one? And he just looked at me and he said, one word, sign. So that's the difference, you know. All these guys that are trying to get into canines, they were already muskrat, raccoon, and beaver trappers, and you know, no offense, but you know, it's pretty obvious. You see a muddy muskrat run, you plop a conibear in front of you. You see a beaten down raccoon trail, that's the spot. Beavers leave more sign than any animal. Canines in general don't leave that much sign, right? So it's more of a, you look out at a field or you look at a place, and yeah, the guys that know what they're doing will get out and look for tracks. Everybody always watches me when I'm walking. I'm always looking down, man. I'm not looking out, I'm looking down. And I'll just catch one little toe pad of a coyote, and that's all. And I know, you know what that looks like. Sometimes you walk that way, you don't see it. You come back this way and you catch it coming back. The sun's red or whatever. But that all being said, you know, I think that a lot of reason that guys that are newer at it struggle because it's not as obvious. And you look out at a field with 100 different crossings and gate openings and pinch points or whatever, and, you know, how do I pick one or two of those, you know?
Well, I know the first time I went to Craig's, I'm reading all the books and all the videos and, you know, going to all the demos, and it was kind of like, well, you pull up in the field and you go run over to the corner, or you look for the road crossing, or you see the lone tree or whatever your little fetish is for your location, and you go do it. And then I went out to Craig. I remember the first morning, because it set me back on my heels a little bit. We started driving because there were sheep getting killed, and he knew they were coming from that break. But there was all these little knolls and gaps that they could come through. And I'm thinking Montana, you know, of course he's been trapping there, for 30 years by this point. But we pull up to what looks like a great location. We get out, we spend 20 minutes trying to find a track. Couldn't find a track. Get back in the truck, go to the next one, couldn't find the track. Go to the next one, couldn't find the track. Then we hit one track going both ways, and he's like, this is it. You know, but that's not the way we here look at location, because hey, there's two roads come together up there. Let's go pound a set in.
Yeah,
you know,
more than likely there's tracks there.
Yeah, but that was like, I remember that, because now it really makes me nervous not to see signs somewhere. In some places in the East you can't.
You know, I was one of my dogs have, since we last talked, I lost both my dogs. They died in the same year. It kills me, man. But I brought that dog idea back from Craig, and it changed the way I looked at things, man. I'd pull into a spot, you know, and I have a little more confidence now, but 10, 15 years ago, I'd pull into a spot and I wasn't sure, and I'd let them dogs out. Man, they'd find one turd. That's all it took, man. I'm getting my equipment. It's a game changer to find that one thing. It takes you from guessing that's a good spot to knowing at least something's come through here. Right. And granted, one turd or one track isn't a game changer in the East, but when I'm on a new farm and the dogs would find that for me, they would find things I would never see.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times, and that's what got me realizing years and years ago, you know, I see these guys making these scent posts that, you know, they got this stick out in the middle of a field, angled back.